Tonight we'll find a way to make it last forever. So don't let it slip away. Tonight we'll find a way to make it last forever. So don't let it slip
Okay. The point at which I hear bubble pop coming on is always a good point to start the stream back up.
It's a good indication.
Yeah.
Oh, how are you doing, Venetius?
Not too bad. How about yourself, Teachery?
Doing all right, thank you. I know the summoners around here haven't seen much of me lately, but I'm glad to be back working with yourself and everyone who is kind enough to watch the stream this evening for Game 2 of Reddit IRC 5v5's week, what are we at, 15 now?
I don't even know.
It's been a couple of months, and you know, I think we're getting into a good rhythm here. So you know, hell, we're 5 minutes early. So
We are
I
indeed.
say, if you got 5 minutes of time to fill before we actually get started, because you know, starting games early, that is not our style in the slightest.
Yeah, not at all. We're just getting everybody set up here on Mumble, make sure both teams are ready to go, and we'll get started up here within the next 5 minutes or so.
All right, there we go. I say, Summoners, that's going to be 5 minutes and 27 seconds from now. That's exactly 6:30. Maybe 28 seconds, so we can be, you know, IRC time, just a little bit late.
We started 20 seconds early last game, I'll have you know.
Awful. It's like I don't even know who you are anymore.
I know, right?
All right, it looks like from the chat we're working out the last few mumble issues, so Glyce will have a few minutes to take care of that. Or a few minutes to be Spanish, whichever he prefers.
All right, we are going to go ahead and get started here in Champ Select. We see first ban coming out from Blue Team. Very quick Elise ban. Not too surprising after the past couple games. And with the past, couple months of Elise being an absolute terror.
Yeah, she's a great poke, and she has good engage and disengage. She can feel like a very safe choice, can make a lot of clever escapes around ganks in the early game, and can really snowball because of that ability to escape in the top lane. We're going to have a response ban from a Boomer, captain of the red team. It's going to be Diana. She continues to be a strong mid lane, and just the ability to roam and the ability to shield and kind of have deceptive amounts of effective health at any given time.
Yeah, I think Diana is one of the more well-balanced champions in the game right now. Her kit does its job very well. She's not too overpowered to where she can just blow people up without any items or anything like that.
And of course, you remember they had to nerf everything in her kit to get her to that point. So
well, of course, yeah. At the point she's at now.
Right. Okay, and our other bands, we're seeing Vi. Vi being one of the strongest junglers in the game, continuing, people who watch LCS know that she's just great at engaging. You put a little bit of attack speed onto her, the Vault Breaker and her passive from her W is able to reduce damage the champions are able to deal. Just a really exceptional jungler and ability to engage on the backline to the bruiser champion. The rest of our bands are going to be Draven and Shen from the red team and Malphite from the blue team, so not eschewing the normal tanky initiation meta ban entirely, but still see less of those. We definitely have a Mumu still available, Alistar still available, so we'll see if any of those champs come off the board in our picks here.
I feel like Purple Team's bans may have been troll bans, but I could just be over-imagining things.
Hell, you got a Blitzcrank here, so nobody bans Blitzcrank, and blue team doesn't first pick him. Red team says, we'll be more than happy.
I don't know, I think the combination of Kale and Blitzcrank on a team is terrifying in and of itself.
And there you go. There's your other tanky initiator. So red team and blue team split one each, with a Mumu going out as the jungler on the blue team, and Blitzcrank probably going to be playing support for the red team. All right, now that we've taken all of our obvious picks off the board, we see Fat Cow going to go ahead and lock in as Caitlyn with a support Taric. Be interesting to see how the two of those play off of each other. They're not really the same style of champion. Has Tarek's rework been placed into is the patch that's gone live today, including his reworked passive?
I believe so.
Let me take a quick look at that. Yep, sure enough. So Tarek is going to want to more than ever stay, close to his enemies, and he's not going to be able to provide Caitlyn the same, kind of the flat armor bonuses in the early game that she might otherwise be hoping for. So, we'll see if they play any differently in regards to range to each other and range to their opponents, who are going to be Sivir and Blitzcrank, another slightly unusual looking. No, it's going to be Sivir and Sona. Switching to Graves at the last second as things get locked in.
Could
Well, we've
we
got two support-looking
maybe be
champions,
seeing,
but yeah, it could be a
Blitzcrank
mid.
top back from, what is that, early Season 2, late Season 1 meta?
Possible. We do still see Shasil is the one with the jungle masteries at present, but I mean, what other possibility? There's a lot of other possibilities that still exist here, somewhere on the outside of the typical meta. So there's a lot that could be going on. So we'll figure it out. Oh, I didn't realize Quinn had become active sometime in the last few hours. I actually would have bought earlier, but all right. So no, someone's probably just showing us that Shus is there. I mean that the Quinn is there, not actually playing. Yeah, we're gonna have a
Showing
mid
off their shiny new
Cassiopeia.
champion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone, and then our Croc Chop. That's another LCS kind of favorite. And you see champions, you remember liking them and their kits, and then you watch a lot of nerfs and buffs go by, and you don't really remember how they do. And then you see, now that we see the best players in the world playing, a half dozen times a week, you see a lot more opportunities to watch champs like Renekton do well. And Renekton is definitely really strong against a lot of top laners these days. Our last pick is going to be Fizz coming out from the red team. It's going to be shoveled back over to Boomer. So if I had to guess, blue team is going to be from the top, or let's just go by lane composition from top to bottom. Top lane is going to be Renekton, probably against Kayle.
Yeah,
I
I'd have
think
to
Kayle would be the best. Yeah, I mean, just from like a poking ability to zone him out. You see Kayle there. Kayle also a very strong top laner. And then we go down into the jungles. Is going to be a Mumu versus, I guess at this point you'd have to say Blitzcrank.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the smite. It is theoretically possible, anybody is supposed to be able to jungle. He
Yeah,
does
the
do enough
knock
single
up they
target
gave
damage.
him. Yeah, and they gave him a good leash to start off with. And then your mid laners are going to be Cassiopeia versus Fizz then. And then bottom lane, Graves and Sona versus Caitlyn and Tarek. So anything in particular you think to be, having just gone over those matchups, any particular players you're expecting or hoping for good things from?
Well, if whatever Seal is planning goes his way, hopefully we'll be seeing some pretty terrifying gank crank going on.
That sounds
Or
gross, but I
gank.
like it. Yeah, I don't know. Gank Crank sounds a little bit too much like the pirate, but
Yeah, true. Blitz gank probably works
yeah,
better.
and maybe we'll see iBlitz. Maybe people will be having
Oh,
Guru
yeah,
meditation
true enough.
errors all over the map today.
True
No,
enough.
Guru meditation was a Linux reference, wasn't it? Oh well. One nerd reference, that doesn't go over. That's par for the course. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of things here. Blue team's got a pretty tanky composition with Mumu in the jungle, Tarvik on support, and then Renekton. Renekton moves well, and depending on how you itemize and how he does in the early game, can really soak up a lot of damage. But red team not really slouching in that respect either. Blitzcrank is probably going to build tanky, although it'll be interesting to see just how tanky he can build while still maintaining a competent jungle clear. And then Kayle with the intervention ultimate, always a great way to just nullify damage for a period of time while, say, Fizz jumps into the back line and starts cutting people up.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up the tanky aspect of it. With the changes made to Tarek, his armor aura now scales off of his bonus armor rather than just giving a flat increase.
I believe it might actually be total armor, although, again, that'd be something
armor.
I'd want to check on.
Either way, it scales off of how much armor he has now rather than just giving a flat amount. So we should be seeing, much tankier Tareks coming out since this change.
Well, and I think you're right on into the mid and late game, which will be interesting to see in, a lot of high levels of play where games typically go 40 plus minutes. But we'll see, across the spread of all ELOs and all games. Sorry, I know ELOs is a forbidden term these days, but you know what I mean. Across all ranks and skills of players, we'll see if there is kind of an average payoff, if it maybe changes the way Tareks itemize on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, that'll definitely be interesting to see, and I think I think it should change the way that this Tarek and Caitlyn play off of one another in the early game here, but we'll see if that's actually the case.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect to see too much difference in Tarek's early play. He's going to do, I think they nerfed the damage slightly on Shatter. So he'll do a little less damage, be a little less tanky, but the core mechanics of, getting that stun going, blowing up are still going to be there. Very much so. Oh, my screen's whited out here. My LOL is trying to crash, but my computer won't allow it.
Yeah, same here. Hey, it's just going to take an extra second to load up. We see Blue Team coming out with 4 skins right off the bat. Gross. And, sorry, you probably wouldn't have noticed anything if I hadn't said it. And a Red Team actually representing with all 5 skins, including, they actually only have, it looks like 4.5 champs out on the field because one of them is definitely not Blitzcrank. So.
Yeah, I don't know. That should
yeah, the mystery champion out on the field. We'll see if he can turn the tides.
He could totally be a jungler for all we know.
It does look like it. They do have Smite.
I have to say, of the skins in play, and since there are plenty to choose from, I think I'm going to go with Riot Graves for my favorite. That mustache is just all that is man.
Thanks, Rob. Well, I'm glad you got that, and if the listeners need more explanation, you can always Google Ron Jeremy later. Just don't do it while your parents are watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Mythic Cassiopeia, and Renekton's release skins aren't anything really special, but they're not bad either. I always enjoyed Outback Renekton, and then they've given him a couple of good ones in the time since.
I actually enjoy Arcade Sona because of her ult. It's DDR.
Oh
it's
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, exactly. And then all of the big lettering effects and everything funny like that.
Yep.
Let's see. For some reason, my mini-map has minimized to tiny scale.
That's always
Let me
fun.
go ahead and I would say you might want to. I imagine you're probably swapping lanes around. I'm going to go ahead and do the same here, so I can keep a close eye on everybody.
Yeah, Caitlyn commenting on their banning. Red Team's banning of Draven and Champ Select. We saw.
Yeah, apparently
I was
a targeted
wondering
ban.
about that myself. Yeah. I happen to very much enjoy Draven. For those who are unaware.
Each team lining up. I would say I wouldn't have been surprised, in a couple of minutes we were talking there, to see Blue Team getting aggressive in the early game, and they may take this opportunity, especially, Caitlyn have traps, the ability to catch out people who are looking to defend objectives, and then having a relatively strong early game here with Cassiopeia's damage over time, Fizz, Amumu ability to jump to somebody, Tarek ability to stun somebody, and Blitzcrank not being the most known quantity when it comes to junglers in Season 3. So we'll see what happens here. I'm interested to see. They've only got about 20 seconds left if they're going to do something, because Blitz will be starting on his Wolves in just a second.
Yeah, see, I was actually thinking just the opposite, that Blitzcrank was going to do the sort of classic pull blue over the wall invade tactic.
Yeah.
It looks
Yeah,
like
I could definitely have seen that too. Blue Team all coming in. They're cutting Red Team in half immediately. The jungler and his aid have to split, and the bottom lane takes off in the opposite direction immediately afterwards. So blue team, assuming they all stay here, are just going to be able to go ahead and take the red team's blue buff. Kale and Blitzcrank and possibly Fizz are all filing into position to do the opposite on the other side of the map.
Yeah, Blitzcrank wasn't even able to finish off the wolves there. That is going to put him slightly behind of Amumu if Amumu was able to get back to jungling quickly enough.
Yeah, and he also spent a little bit of mana, which hasn't completely regenerated yet, so we'll see what happens. Blue team bringing Renekton across the mid lane as he continues to move back towards the jungle. I'm a little surprised they didn't move back into the jungle immediately. Blitzcrank getting taken very low. He's going to finish and be able to walk out of there. Kale and Renekton take a little look at each other. Renekton does... Did he get sight of Blitzcrank? I feel like he should have had sight of him for just a moment there.
I don't know. I don't think he did.
Blitzcrank is going to walk out around Cassiopeia. Yeah, we don't see any pings going down. It's probably they don't have any sight of Blitzcrank being able to return fire. I'm a little surprised they didn't get more aggressive in kind of expecting that, because with the expectation of Blitzcrank's clear times not being great, but they went ahead and let it go, so we'll see how that plays out. Couple of tiltovers and shatters being thrown Graves' way in the bottom lane, but Sona in the early game here doing a real good job of keeping Graves nice and healthy and not even spending that much mana in response. Tarek accidentally sends a Dazzle out towards a minion. Now hopefully that didn't put him down too much. Fizz is going to go, almost certainly going to go down early. Yep, she's going to go ahead, and Cassiopeia will flash in and pop each of her dots successfully, going off of 3 Twin Fangs to put down just more damage than Fizz could heal through.
Yeah, that was a very well-placed miasma on her part there.
Yeah, that was the ability.
Caught right at the edge of the very outside of the circle. Fizz caught for that last, bit of dot.
Yeah, the flash in, placed the Noxious Blast at just maximum range, and then was able to catch just enough of the expanding miasma range to do more dot as well.
Yeah, very well placed. Though almost a little disappointing because we haven't gotten to see our jungle mystery champion here.
I say he actually did get sighted out by somebody. I guess there was a Caitlyn trap going through that just found its mark now. So they know he's there, and he's just finished up the last few creeps at his blue buff. Cassiopeia getting aggressive again. Just working off the movement speed bonuses and nerfs from Noxious Blast and Miasma respectively, and comboing off so well, knowing that Fizz is either going to have to jump directly onto her or going to have to attempt to run away, which he's not great at doing here without having... He just taken Playful Trickster now, was able to avoid one of those. She'll put down the Ignite, but Cassiopeia doesn't have enough damage just yet. She's just going to keep him confined to the tower for now. Action going on in the bottom lanes as well. Tower getting taken extremely low, going to have to flash out. Graves gets taken really low himself after landing on a Caitlyn trap after giving it enough time to activate. Blitzcrank does come in for a lane gank. Renekton takes out Kale into the top lane. It's all going blue team's way, and not Blitzcrank is definitely not going to not...
Definitely not Blitzcrank's definitely not going to live.
Yeah, that one. A triple kill for Caitlyn to start this game off.
That's not going to end well.
No, not at all. I actually wanted to see Tarek back there to see what kind of advantage that Caitlyn was getting from the Shatter, but they're going to stay back together.
Yeah, we did see while that fight bottom was going on, Kale going down to an Amumu gank top to Renekton.
Ah, yeah, he came in. Oh, the bandage toss a little bit. Yeah, You always like to see good predictive skills from the Amumu, and unfortunately he got a little bit ahead of himself there and didn't quite let that gank get off, because that would have been an almost certain kill otherwise, especially with Cassiopeia having already hit 6, at just 6 minutes into the game here.
Yeah, I would dare to say Fizz is a little more scared of Cassiopeia than Amumu might have been compensating for.
Sona's actually placed down a pink ward and gotten the first ward kill of the game. So congratulations to Sona.
Oh, GG.
Yeah, maybe blue team should just pack it in now.
Yep.
But unfortunately for all that Cider Dragon, Cassiopeia lucky there to have not done any damage to Fizz. Didn't take the turret aggro, because Blitzcrank might have had the opportunity to just dive in there and start grabbing her and punching her around. But without any damage put onto her previously, she's just going to be able to, her wave clear, especially at this point in the game, is so much better than Fizz's, that she's just boxing him out, and there's not too much she can do. You take a look at their respective creep score, 42 to 25. More people getting taken low. Graves is going to be brought down again.
Yeah, Graves dying to Caitlyn's red buff there that she got from that triple kill earlier.
Yeah, she's extremely dangerous right now. She's already finished off a BF sword. She took the Doran's blade for a little bit of extra durability, but she also has her Taric buddy, and with the early advantage there. Cassiopeia looking to use her early advantage to take down Fizz. She's actually going to go ahead and engage straight onto Blitzcrank instead, put down some dot onto him instead, because Fizz had to take off, and Blitzcrank, trying to start that gank off with only about half health, ended up with 2 people on red team running scared. The second blue buffs of the game, the first one has spawned for blue team here. They're going to give it over to Cassiopeia. It's going to get scary again. People getting taken low. Sona brought below the danger zone for a quick moment there. She heals herself back up. It's a 3.5k gold lead at 8 minutes. And take a quick look at who that's down onto. Mostly as Amumu comes in for a top gank. Kayle does have 6. She has the intervention. She used it. An additional tower hit down onto Amumu. Renekton's actually just going to keep tanking the tower. Jumps in with a... Renekton is pulled back into the tower by Blitzcrank. But yeah, he just went completely man mode there and sliced and diced after an ignite to take down Kayle, even if he had to go out with it.
Yeah, I think he would have been able to get out of that had Blitzcrank not been there. That was a very well-placed pull by Shoof Seal there.
Graves getting taken low again. The 90 caliber net combined with the ace in the hole, but Sona does heroically stand in the way. Neither of them are going to be able to defend that turret at this rate, though. Graves is going to give it a try. He's healing himself back up, taking a little bit of extra heal from Sona, who actually comes back into the lane despite having no mana. I have a bad feeling about this one, gentlemen. The headshot landing down onto Graves, doing 150 damage off a single auto attack. At this point in the game, the Piltover Peacemaker taking him extremely low.
Yeah, there's just not much you can do against a Caitlyn that's this fed this early. I mean, look, Graves has, a Vamp Scepter and a Longsword to defend himself against Caitlyn's BF sword.
Exactly, and Caitlyn has 1,400 more gold in her pocket right now. Like, you take a look at a 3.5k gold lead, and like half of that is on Caitlyn. Cassiopeia actually getting knocked up, hit with the shark. She is going to try to flash out. She's going to take Fizz down anyway after the ultimate, but she is going to be brought down despite the good use of the Petrifying Gaze to keep people caught in her damage.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what you have to do with characters like Cassiopeia that are, area-based damage. You just got to keep people, or, know where they're going to be and keep them there as long as possible.
Yeah, even as Red Team is getting kills here, they're still having a hard time, getting them without being killed themselves. And Blue Team now, Amumu just walking through the lane, he cleanses, but gets caught by the Curse of the Sad Mummy immediately afterwards, Graves does, and even putting damage deck down in response onto Amumu is not able to do enough. Taric walks out with a small amount of health, and they've just tanked the turret successfully and taken down Graves.
I didn't see how low Amumu was when Graves fired out his ult, but he died before the spell was able to actually do any damage to him.
Which spell was that?
Graves' ult.
Oh, yeah. It was an additional hit or two from Caitlyn that went down after the Curse of the Sad Mummy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Cass. And a choice of 2 Doran's rings to give her a lot of additional mana. Renekton actually being caught out in the top lane trying to fight onto Blitzcrank. He's going to go ahead and try to slide over the wall with the slice, but hasn't hit anybody on the way there, and so the dice is not available when Blitzcrank pulls him back over. He does not try to fight enough. He doesn't have the cooldowns that he needed yet to be able to put down damage back onto Blitzcrank, and will ultimately be taken down by Kayle instead. We'll take a quick look. the gold lead, it continues to fluctuate around 3,500. Caitlyn has actually spent pretty much all the money that she just had to pick up a Cloak of Agility for 15% crit strike. We'll see, and a pickaxe for some more damage rather than finishing, say, a Bloodthirster or something like that. But if she manages to pull off a crit strike headshot at this point in the game, somebody's going down really fast.
Absolutely.
Tarek actually getting a little manly here, taking a lot of poke from Sona and Graves, and maybe that was looking to put down a shatter onto somebody.
Well, he does have a good
down,
200
Caitlin's
health
taking
over
down,
Sona right now.
You know, it's 11, 12 minutes into the game, and Caitlin's taking down minions in 2 shots.
Yeah.
You know, her wave clear. You know, now bottom team's wave clear. The ultimate, the crescendo coming out from Sona. The ace in the hole, Graves. Wow. A good quick draw from Graves to get in the way of the Caitlyn ult, which with Sona's relatively low resistance is almost certainly would have taken him down. Tarek going to go ahead and put himself in the way. Graves almost certainly going to go down. One more shot from Caitlyn. That's going to do it after the dazzle coming out from Tarek. Tarek heals himself under the tower while Caitlyn picks up a quick double kill to go to 7-0. Absolutely dominating.
You know, we do see Cassiopeia going down there to another gank from Blitzcrank. But I mean, I just don't think Cassiopeia, especially being one of those champions that it's harder to shut down than most.
Amumu and Renekton, the intervention had to go down onto Blitzcrank for a short time. Blitzcrank pulled under the tower, but the curse of the sad mummy, the intervention not lasting long enough at this point in the game. That was not an all-in engage. Amumu going to run in the wrong direction, get taken down by Kale. Renekton tries to slice and dice in. He's putting a lot of damage down onto Kale, who now no longer has the intervention, but she does have a heal. She's going to flash away instead of trying to use the heal and running. You know, and that's pretty much what we were talking about. Even in situations where red team is able to get a kill there, you know, kill went down onto Kale, but Blitzcrank had to die for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and at this point, you know, red team has not had the presence of mind or the money really to be putting down more wards. They've got 2 wards available to them as a team, neither replaced. So blue team is just going to walk in here and start taking the dragon, which they can do so very quickly with their high damage champs there in Caitlyn and Cassiopeia.
I mean, Caitlyn's going to back now, grab herself an IE, maybe finish her boots, maybe get,
Amumu correctly guesses at what Blitzcrank is up to down in his jungle. He's going to go ahead and try to shove Blitzcrank out while Blue Buff will leash back up. One of the 2 wards is now placed down into the jungle, one of the 3. Yeah, Renekton going to go ahead and find out Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank's almost certainly going down at this point. Amumu's silenced for a short time, but Blitzcrank is taking damage over time from Amumu, and Amumu will pick up the kill onto Shusil.
Blitzcrank going back in there to throw that ward on their blue buff was really ballsy.
Yeah, he was hoping he'd be able to escape out in time. I don't think he noticed that Renekton was in such a position as to grab him out.
Yeah, probably not.
The Noxious Blast landing once, twice onto Fizz. Fizz is going to land back with Chum the Waters. Chum the Waters, not Churn the Waters. It's okay, I know how to talk. Occasionally. But yeah, and Caitlyn does smartly stay just out of range of it. Kale actually going to be kind of come down to take a look at the blue buff here. I'm not sure that's a good idea. She's going to try to find out Amumu right after it finishes. Amumu actually ready to re-engage because Renekton's going to be there when Kale tries to come in, looking for a stun. What do we see? He's going to land the stun down. Amumu coming in shortly afterwards. Curse of the Sad Mummy is not available on him right now. Kale busts out the intervention, try to get under the turret, but it's 4 people chasing onto her, and Caitlyn is going to grab that instead. That newly fixed ult makes Caitlyn totally viable again, in case anyone was wondering.
What did they change about her ult?
In the last patch, when Caitlyn lost sight on a champion that Ace in the Hole was focusing, it would break, and the full cooldown would be set up, but no damage would be done. Yep.
That's nonsense.
Yeah, a number of abilities had that bug, actually, but it seems like they fixed at least the Caitlyn one. So hopefully they fixed everything else, too.
Huh.
Also, you see, I don't know, I imagine you had your chance to talk about this at this point. They were talking about breaking the health units into units of 2,000 instead of 1,000, but it looks like what they've done, at least for now, is just to add a thicker delineating line for each 1,000 health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was one of the things they were talking about on the PBE for a while. Mm-hmm. Looks like they did throw that in now. I had thought they had mentioned using the smaller lines for every 200.
Yeah, that's what I said. That was like how they had originally laid it out, but it seems like this is what they went with instead, just delineating by 1,000 health.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
you've got
overall, it
the
definitely
black
looks better
line.
now.
Yeah, and you have a good idea exactly how... Oh no, Kaylin's disconnected, and they're going to show her no mercy.
That was
Curse of the Sad
unfortunate.
Mummy going to pick up kills for Cassiopeia anyways. Graves taking a lot of damage. He's going to try to cleanse it, but there's not too much you can cleanse there. I mean, maybe the bandage wrap,
Yeah, it would have been able to
but
cleanse a slow had it been already applied, but Cassiopeia's
yeah, no,
damage doesn't go
and she
away.
can and her noxious blast is giving her movement speed bonus. She hadn't even used the miasma for the movement slow yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Blitzcrank being focused and tortured unmerciful under the tower. Cassiopeia actually tanking that one out. And want to take a quick look at and say I'm curious to see the additional. Oh nope, the chum the turn the water is actually going to go ahead and Fizz will take out Cassiopeia this time, and just barely survive. As blue team continued to focus on the objective instead.
And just the amount of passive damage alone coming out from Cassiopeia, or rather damage over time, not passive damage, is ridiculous for anyone trying to fight her. And then her
Yeah,
ult is
definitely.
what, bursting for 500 by now?
You know, and she and Caitlyn kind of occupy similar places of like, you know, if you get in their face, they are potentially in danger, but they've had such fantastic early games. You know, Fizz not really being able to confidently jump in the early game, not being able to trade with her on even footing, and Caitlyn having a Tarek to stun out for her. They've both been able to get up to such ridiculous early game leads.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you look at gold between Grace and Caitlyn right now, and it's 3,400 gold difference in favor of Caitlyn.
Jesus. Caitlyn has almost double Graves' gold.
Mm-hmm. And just, you know, even going across the rest of your lanes here, your total gold difference is about 9,000. And so 3,500 of that's on Caitlyn. There's another almost 2,000 on Renekton, who's actually getting chased down by 4 members of Red Team right now. Cassiopeia's come in. The Shark is going to land onto Renekton. Renekton's actually carrying the Shark onto Cassiopeia. They did manage to get a kill before Renekton went down. Fizz almost got in the way of that ace in the hole, and while Cassiopeia will go down, that's going to be an ace an almost ace for blue team. I would not be surprised if blue team decided they wanted to go into Baron here. Actually, Mumu and Tarek seem to be considering that notion, and Caitlyn's actually going to snipe it from the backside.
I
That
can't see
attack
this
range,
game
man.
turning around at this point.
It would be. You're right. I mean, it's so difficult to think of a way. Even, you know, knowing the ways that Red Team can chain their CC, you know, they have a Sona ult, they have a Blitzcrank ult that could silence people for a time, they have intervention which could give Fizz a couple of seconds of invulnerability, but I still don't think it's enough. Caitlyn's actually going to go ahead and take tanking duty for the last hit or two, and blue team, all 5 members will be given the Baron buff.
Yeah, I mean, they're just going to have... They're facing this problem now where Renekton is pretty much only going to get tankier, as is a Mumu, and Caitlyn and Cassiopeia are really only going to get burstier from here. And they already haven't been able to answer, you know, any of the engages we've seen.
I mean, just in terms of stats, it's almost too much. 3 members of blue team are over 7,000 gold here, whereas 1 member of red team is over 5,000 gold.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, just look at that. Fizz went down so quickly. Sona didn't even have time to crescendo, and wasn't even in the way anyways. And Blitzcrank is going to go down after the intervention. No, Sona's going to be able to heal him up just enough that the damage over time isn't going to go. But now Renekton comes in. He's going to slice, dice, Cole the
no,
Meek.
He missed
the
the slice,
ultimate,
unfortunately.
yeah.
He wasn't able to get the dice off.
But the Cole the Meek and the ultimate. Blitzcrank is actually going to take him into himself. The Cole the
Yeah,
Meek
he's
going to give
doing-
him a quick double kill.
doing him a favor
Blitzcrank
there.
going to slice and out of the way.
Oh my
Caitlyn
God.
now in. Yeah, Amumu will be able to just tank up the rest of the turret hits.
This is... I'd be surprised if they can't end the game right here.
And look at this. In just the same way as they split up Baron, they're doing a great job of just tanking the turret. Caitlyn actually taking almost a little bit too much damage, and Tarek might go down on the way out here. They do dodge the Earth Shark, Shurf,
Who knows?
Arc. Amumu gonna take the ignite and gonna go down to the last tick of ignite there from Fizz. Fizz and Kale now picking up at 5 and 5 each. Tarek gonna go down, give a kill up to Graves for his first kill of the game. But Yeah, even blue team getting careless here, probably not quite enough. Renekton rubbing a little salt in the wound, knowing that the glycerol is in this game. It's I don't know. It's hard to say. I think the main problem coming out from that end in a strategic sense is that the intervention is, at least until you get ranks in it. Rank 2 here, it's 2.5 seconds. Rank 1, it's a good deal shorter than that. So you could definitely see where an intervention that's only maybe a second and a half, and somebody hasn't already dove into the back lane, then you get that kind of missense of confidence. Yeah, the two quick hits down onto Fizz, putting down so much damage. Cassiopeia actually will go down this time, but everyone else is subject to Caitlyn's mercy. Whoever steps in the way of that, no, Blitzcrank somehow lives. I was almost certain whoever got in the way of that was just sacrificing themselves, because you looked at the heavy damage that every auto attack from Caitlyn was putting down, the Phantom Dancer and the Infinity Edge here at just over 20 minutes into the game.
Oh, to be fair, her damage is now starting to balance out a little more with the point of the game we're at. And having picked up a Phantom Dancer in favor of going for, say, a Bloodthirster or a Last Whisper or something like that, she's really not doing the crazy, ridiculous damage she was doing before with her, what was like 11-minute IE.
A little bit, but I mean, look at that red team's itemization. Nobody except Sona has armor. Nobody.
Nor health.
And the Ninja Tabby from Kale. Kale's actually changed up her purchase order a little bit to take this second Blade of the Ruin King for the red kit, just because of the gold, because of the itemization, because of how far ahead blue team is right now. They have so much health in addition to all their damage. So the Blade of the Ruin King, no, Sona, no, why? Oh, poor Sona. And they're gonna, yeah, it's in very much the same way. Cassiopeia is actually the sacrifice on this one, but the intervention gonna go down into Graves. Slice and Dice will probably be available after that. They're actually just gonna dive down onto Kale. It doesn't really matter who they take at this point to them. Kaelin gonna pop out on the other side, put a trap down, take a little bit of damage from Fizz. Wow, a lot of damage actually. Yeah, I mean, Lichbane Fizz is always a scary proposition, but blue team is just too far ahead at this point.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Red team is almost starting to maybe, make a stand where they could start coming back, but I think it's too little too late.
And home guarding out from not Blitzcrank. You're going to silence Caitlyn for a short time, but that's about all from him. Yeah, I mean, Vernekton, Caitlyn are a great 1-2 near-far punch, it looks like. And they've been able to do that effectively all game. And that's going to be our GGs here from just over 20-minute mark, as they actually look to stop the turret for a minute, try to maybe dazzle Kale right before she gets back to the turret. No, Tarek just going to eat all of this damage. Mumu going to let himself go down. The turret is actually not done just yet. It's Renekton versus the Nexus. Renekton's actually going to go down a short second too early. The intervention goes down onto Fizz a little unnecessarily. And now it is red team versus super minions. And with just one inhibitor down, red team is actually going to live for another minute or two, as minions in the bottom lane siege down through another turret, making it 8-2 and a 13,000 gold lead in favor of blue team. I mean, 13,000, that breaks down to almost 3,000 per champion. And you take a look at the gold earned, and that's pretty much the case. The only place where it's almost even is the jungler. Everybody else has at least 2,500 gold on their lane counterpart.
Yeah, it's just a place you don't want to be right now, especially with both Nexus towers having gone down. If, Caitlyn or Renekton could sneak in there and take it if they timed it well enough. It's just all around bad things for the red team.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't add anything of substance because it's all been just ridiculously one-sided.
Yeah, and I mean, you think you see red team are pulling out these kills now and again, and for the most part that's been working for them. They've been able to take down Cassiopeia now 7 times, and she's been caught way out of position on a number of occasions, but they haven't been disengaging quickly after those opportunities. And so even if they manage to get a kill into Cassiopeia, usually 1 to 3 people go down in retribution.
Yeah.
Not Blitzcrank is being the not hero of this not story. No, Fizz is actually going to be the first sacrifice. But Blitzcrank is cheering for Mother Russia as Sona takes a lot of damage. Cassiopeia focuses on Kale first, a double kill for Caitlyn onto Blitzcrank. Sona's actually Sona's going to be brought down by Cassiopeia on the fountain. Just too much damage between her and Caitlyn, and that'll be a GG.
I am really shocked at how quickly that game ended. Not gonna lie. Where the hell is
Yeah,
it?
I mean,
Are you kidding me?
you start
My client crashed, so we can't see stats. Cute.
GG. Well, I would say, is there any you're particularly interested in? I do have the client available to me here, and I can.
Nah, I mean I just.
But I mean, you look at
and whatnot.
when you look at gold earn numbers, kind of the most surprising is, and this could be as much in terms of runes and masteries as itemization and success in the game. Sona had under 5,000 gold at the end of the game, whereas Tarek, her respective counterpart, had over 8,000 gold. Tarek actually out-earned his jungler.
Yeah, I mean those assists from Caitlyn early, especially, are just gonna put him way far ahead. So it's
Yeah,
not
certainly.
surprising.
And 3 champions over the 10,000 gold mark at 25 minutes into the game. Take a quick look at damage dealt to champions. You see Cassiopeia up to almost 30,000 and Caitlyn at 20,000 herself, where for the red team it was actually Fizz leading the way at about 14,000. So Renekton, Caitlyn, and Cassiopeia all out-damaged the red team. So, I mean, just really difficult. Red team fell behind in a couple of lanes, really. I mean, you talk about, and that was kind of a confidence game with the mid lane, the range and the ability to poke from Cassiopeia versus the kind of all-in poke and engage from Fizz. And Cassiopeia just was able to make a couple of good decisions, the flash in and the ability to hit off the Q and the W early for that first blood, and then or her first kill. I don't remember if it was first blood or not. And then a couple of unfortunate or unnecessary engages in the bottom lane, putting blue team just kind of perma ahead. So I mean, I think those were the turning points of the game, and it's kind of hard to say turning point when it was just a couple of minutes into the game, but I think those are the major plays that you see. How about your player of the game?
I mean, I've got to go with Caitlyn. Just the amount of damage she was putting out as quickly as she was doing it, even early before, she really got gold, got the items that just set her so far ahead. It was perfect placement, perfect timing, and, at every turn, we're seeing ults go down from across the map. Her just keeping her lead, keeping, everything she possibly could.
Yeah, and I was a little surprised at her itemization in the early game, but just having that early advantage, I guess, that Fat Cow felt confident enough that he could just go straight damage, because, he went the BF sword and the pickaxe so very early into the game and turned the BF sword turned the both of those into an early Infinity Edge. So he had an Infinity Edge within just a few minutes, and then followed it up with a Phantom Dancer to let him get around the map faster. You saw him showing up at the end of engages, or like the middle of the end of engage. I guess you consider it the end because he was making them end every time that he showed up after Cassiopeia or Renekton would start a fight off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it was definitely a lot of good plays and a lot of interesting stuff to see out there in this game. So we thank you very much for joining us, and hope you'll stick around for the next one, where we'll have another game where, assuming everyone shows up, we'll have more Silver 2 match plays going on, and we will catch you in about an hour.
Yep. We shall return. Thanks
Whether
for
you
tuning
want
in.
us to or not.
Yeah.